Welcome to the Damn Strong podcast. I'm your host, Bree, and I'm a full-time online fitness coach, and my passion is to educate women on all things fitness. I help women just like you step into the power of knowledge and commitment to ultimately live your best and strongest life. In this podcast, we'll talk about being damn strong in our body, mind, and life. I'll be teaching you how to navigate nutrition, strength training, and mindset challenges. So get ready to take some notes because we're building a damn strong life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Bree, and this is the Damn Strong podcast, and we've got another holiday episode coming at you. I kind of realized that, there's probably some of you out there where maybe right now you're not tracking, maybe right now you don't have a fat loss goal, or maybe you're just a little bit overwhelmed at the idea of pursuing a specific fitness goal right now. And so I was like, you know what? Let's create an episode for those people who are just like in the holidays. And, maybe you just feel a little flustered with everything going on. And so you're leaning towards this, the theme of the last few podcasts have been like this something over nothing, but you're leaning towards nothing. And I want to point out and bring attention to that even if you don't have a fat loss goal right now, or even if you're not tracking calories or, have a protein goal or whatever, this can still be a very, very powerful and educational time for you. You can really use this time of the holiday season to lay groundwork. And the reason why I think it can be so powerful to lay groundwork now is you're recognizing that you're in a busier season of life and you're finding ways to make certain things work. And, I always encourage clients and other people don't throw things out the window just because things get busy. If your life gets busy, find ways to alternate things, or maybe alternate's not the right word. Find ways to adjust would be a much better word. Find ways to adjust things, but we're not turning on and off the fitness light switch. It's a dimmer. We're set on a dimmer. We're dimming it down or we're dimming it up during this time. And so if you've decided, hey, I want to dim this down, but you also recognize, hey, you know what? I should really utilize this time in some way. This is really, really, really a great time for you to be building lasting habits. And this could either be building habits for a fat loss phase that you want to go into January, or building habits, continuing into your fat loss phase in January. Because remember, fat loss is all handy dandy and great, but you have to establish habits to keep the fat loss off, right? When you're done with fat loss and you move into maintenance, what determines whether you maintain your weight or not without tracking is the habits that you've built and the consistency in those habits, right? So if your plan is to, walk 10K steps while in your fat loss phase, and the second you lose the fat that you want, just to not even worry about being active again, you're like, hey, I'm just gonna be a couch potato, go back to 1,000 steps. You're already setting yourself up for failure, right? What's going to help you maintain is building a habit and routine of being more active. No, you don't have to hit 10,000 steps every single day for the rest of your life. But once you make that change of like, hey, I want to be a more active person, having a step goal of 5 to 6 or 6 to 7K steps can be really, really great for you. And so right now, again, if you're not in the season of fat loss or tracking or whatever, and you're like, hey, I need to build these lasting lifelong habits, use this time to do it now, especially that you're busy, and create a realistic and flexible routine for yourself that if it works now, my goodness, when we get into the slow season, January, February, March, it's going to be easy peasy to keep up with. You may even be able to add more. And then when another busy season comes along, you have kind of your bare minimum non-negotiables for yourself. So I want you to challenge that typical mindset of the holidays being a write-off, and to build the habits that are going to make you transition into a fat loss phase much easier. If that's your goal, is like, hey, January, I want to transition to fat loss phase. I do want to hit 10K steps in my fat loss phase. So I'm going to go ahead and build a routine where I hit 8K. And then come January, I can dial that up, right? So make that mindset change of, instead of this being a write-off, it's an opportunity for you to practice these habits. Again, you don't have to be even going to a fat loss phase. It could be that, hey, you're in a fat loss phase now and you're pausing it during the holiday season and you'll go back into it. But this is a perfect time for you to practice, hey, what are the habits when I'm at maintenance, when I'm living my best life, when I'm no longer losing body fat? How can I implement the habits that I'm going to do for the rest of my life? How do I listen to satiety cues, listen to hunger cues, try to get movement in daily in some way or form? Have fruits, have vegetables, not be so reliant on a number potentially telling me what to do, right? And so I think a lot of people just, again, see this as like a write-off time of year, when it's like, no, you now have a time of year where you have so many social events that you can practice this kind of stuff. You get so many learning opportunities. Instead of a learning opportunity of going out with friends once a month to dinner and being like, okay, where are my satiety cues when I'm going out to eat? How do I manage that? You're getting kind of a lot thrown at you at once. And instead of saying like, maybe, you go to your work's holiday party and you push past your satiety cues. Instead of being like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure, you're like, wow, this is a great opportunity. Where was I full? What was I doing differently? Was I eating really, really fast? Where could I have changed things where in the future I listen to that satiety cue? Remember, it's the small daily things that add up over time that will allow you, one, to obviously lose body fat, but two, once you've lost the body fat, that keep those things off. I saw a quote the other day, and it said, it's better to be consistently reliable than occasionally extraordinary. And when I read that, I was like, wow, that's so powerful, right? I would rather you get in 2 workouts every single week than occasionally once a month do 4 workouts in a week, right? So if you're someone that consistently yo-yos, this is a great time to take the holidays as an opportunity to use this as habit building. Okay, so the first part as we're transitioning into this, I want you to set realistic expectations. I've said this a million times on my podcast, but it's so true. If you're going into the season of like, hey, I am just going to focus on healthy habits that are going to carry me when I'm at maintenance, adjust the expectation that you're in this fat loss phase. Adjust the expectation that it's supposed to look this certain way, right? When I have clients go through these types of phases, there's a lot of times where it's like, hey, we're taking the scale out because the scale is not being utilized in this process. I was actually saying this to a client the other day. Actually, perfect example. Yesterday, literally had a call with a client. And she's not only going through a rough time, but it's also the holiday season. She's like, you know what? I want to pause my fat loss. I just want to go through maintenance. And we talked about if she wants to be tracking, not tracking, all that kind of stuff. And, I told her as we were talking through like what we want to do and what our expectations are, we're making sure we match that. I was like, I really think we should take the scale out of the equation. And I was like, how does that make you feel? And she's like, I don't know about that. I was like, look, I'm not against the scale. Obviously, I use it with my clients all the time, but I go, the scale is a tool. And I only want to be using the tool if it's helping us in our path and in our journey, right? Imagine if you were, driving a car. I know I use car analogies all the time, but you're driving a car down the highway and you're like, you know what? We got some extra time. Like, I really want to take the scenic route. And so you exit off the highway and you start taking the scenic route. And instead of turning off your GPS, you just keep it playing and it keeps going, rerouting. And as you're on the scenic drive, you're like, shut up. Stop telling me I'm rerouting. I know I'm not on the highway anymore, right? That's what sometimes leaving the scale in a process can be, right? We know she's not in a fat loss phase. We also know she's going to be eating more food during this time. She's going to be at maintenance. And so the scale is naturally going to go up because she physically has more food inside of her, has more carbs, therefore storing more water. So I was like, we're not using this time to find where your maintenance is. We're just saying, hey, let's put in healthy habits for you to enjoy while you're having this holiday season. She lives overseas. And so she is home in the States for the holidays. So she's here for like a month. I was like, our goal right now isn't to track your food and figure out where your maintenance is. Our goal right now is say, hey, let's use this opportunity to build really, really healthy habits. Let's take care of you, especially since she's going through a hard time as well. And I think the scale is a distraction from that. And so we had a conversation, about all of this and dove into more, but that's a great example of, maybe taking out the scale because it's going to keep distracting you from the proper expectations that you're having. The expectation you want to have now is, hey, I'm trying to build consistency through habits. And that's what we're expecting of ourselves. So with setting expectations, I want you to switch your goal from an outcome goal to an action goal. Okay. A lot of us have this, I want to lose 5 pounds by New Year's, or I want to, maintain this or whatever. There's this ending outcome goal. I want you to have an action goal of, hey, my action is I'm going to work out twice this week. And you honestly could break that down even further, being like, on Sundays, I'm going to sit down in front of my calendar. I'm going to plan out both my workouts. And that's your action. Because if you sit down and take the time to plan out when your workouts are going to be, and you're obviously realistic about the times and the days that you're planning them, that's naturally going to happen. You're going to get those workouts in. And if it doesn't happen, you look back and be like, okay, where did I go wrong? Should I not have expected Thursday to work out? That wasn't like an honest day that I could go work out. I really should have saved one for the weekend, right? And going back and learning instead of saying, oh my gosh, I can even work out 2 times a week. I'm such a failure. It's like, no. Let's look back and just see if there's somewhere we can make a small switch. So I wrote down some habits that I would say are common ones and great ones that'll help you obviously for the future to give you some ideas. So I'm looking off to the side if you're watching the video just because I'm not going to be able to remember them all. So one that I wrote down was stay active without overthinking it, right? Try to create something that's pretty seamless for you. Now, when I wrote this one out, I was like, with an asterisk, because for me, I don't gravitate towards activity. And so for me, I do have to every day think about activity, but I think the key word here is stay active without overthinking it. Make it something simple for yourself, right? Scheduling in time to walk every single day is going to be a way where you're still thinking about being active, but you're not overthinking. You're not overstressing yourself about it, right? It could be going for a 10-minute walk after each meal, right? If you work from home, after breakfast, you go for a 10-minute walk. After lunch, you go for a 10-minute walk. After dinner, 10-minute walk. That's 30 minutes of walking in a day, right? Don't overthink it for yourself. It might be that spreading it out like that doesn't work for you. And you're like, hey, you know what? I got the morning time, kids are asleep, I can get up a little bit extra early, I have a walking pad, I have a treadmill. You go for a 30-minute walk all at once. But the goal is to create it so you don't have to overthink. There still may be some thought process to it, but try to make it easier for yourself. Again, the goal is to make this so it's a routine thing. So that way in the future, whether this is helping with your fat loss goals or it's helping you with maintaining and just having a healthier life, that they're not something where it has to overhaul your life. Practice mindful eating techniques. That can be things like pausing in between getting your first plate and your second plate, right? Thinking about, hey, you know what? Am I still hungry for more? Am I full? Do I actually need to go get more? Am I satisfied? Remember, nothing's running off of your plate. You could always just get a little bit of what you think you want, eat what you want. And then if you feel like you're done and satisfied, you can stop there. Putting your fork and knife down in between each bite. This is one that's been huge for me. I am the one where as I'm chewing, I'm gearing up the perfect turkey to, potato ratio. And as I'm swallowing, I'm putting that next fork in my mouth. Instead, putting my fork and knife down, chewing, swallowing, picking up my knife and fork, and then gathering the perfect ratio of turkey to potatoes. Keeping writing a log of how you feel after these meals. When you go to social situations, I want you at the end of that social situation, pull up the notes on your app and type out how you feel. Did you feel out of control? Do you feel overstuffed? Do you feel overfull? Do you know why you feel overstuffed and full? Were you speed eating? Were you drinking water? And making notes of those logs and looking back on those things. You could even make this a family thing, right? Maybe you as a family, or you can do this with a friend, but just saying, hey, I really want to be more active. I'm going for a walk every day. Let's hold each other accountable to that. Or after all these family events that you're having, hey, we all go together for a walk as a family. If you have kids, of saying, hey, this is just a daily activity that we do together as a family. We go for walks. We look at the leaves. We look at the sky, what's in the clouds. I'm talking like obviously like small kids, but it just builds activity into your kids' life. So not only are you creating a routine for yourself, you're setting up your kids for a really healthy habit. As you're picking and deciding like, hey, what habits do I want to build? Just make sure you're not creating this holiday burnout for yourself. Don't burn yourself out for come January. If like that's when you want to start your fat loss phase or continue your fat loss phase, the last thing that I want you to do is to create this massive to-do list of, I want to get 7-8 hours of sleep a night. I want to walk 10K steps a day. I want to, stop eating when I'm full, only eat when I'm hungry, limit sweets to just one dessert a night. When I go out, don't make this huge, crazy long list. I want you to make, something that's doable during this time. So that way you're not throwing it out and doing nothing. What you're doing is you're capitalizing on an opportunity, right? You're capitalizing on, hey, I have a month here or a certain amount of time. Really, I guess when I'm posting this, we kind of have 2 weeks here, right? I have a very small 2-week opportunity where I have a ton of socialing going on here, which means I have an incredible opportunity to learn from stuff, right? What I would learn over the course of 4 or 5 months, I'm actually getting those experiences in a short 2-week amount of time. I'm going to take this opportunity to practice these things over and over and over again. You know what? Christmas Eve, it didn't go well. I stuffed myself high to the brim. I don't like that feeling. So guess what? On Christmas Day, I'm going to think through that. I'm going to think through, okay, out of the buffet of food, what's most important to me? What do I love for Christmas Day food? Okay, I'm going to pick those things. I'm just going to get a small serving of each because I remember I can always go back for more. I'm also going to drink a whole glass of water before we sit down to eat. So that way I'm not tempted to eat more just because I'm actually thirsty. Going through all these opportunities that you have. And then, you have your work Christmas party you get to go to. Recently, I was talking with a client. She had her work Christmas party and we were walking kind of through everything. I was like, look, this is what I want you to do. I want us to go in and use our habits that we've spent so much time building up. Like we build these up for a reason so we can utilize them. This is what I want you to do. I was like, I want you to go in. Obviously, like she can give me feedback and say she doesn't want to do this, but I want you to go in and we want to focus on the meal, right? Your best version of you understands that you get full, you get so satiated off of having meals. However, it is unrealistic for us to say that you don't want some appetizers. So I want you to go in and I want you to pick 2 appetizers that just look absolutely delicious. Because the reality of the situation is there's probably 2 that are going to be absolutely bomb, maybe even 1. All of them probably are going to be the most amazing thing, but I want you to pick 2 that you're like, these are the 2 appetizers I really, really, really want. These just look amazing, right? And you focus in on those 2. If you take a bite of one of those appetizers and it's not that great, move on from it. Don't push yourself to eat it because you decided that's the one that you want or whatever. Don't end up having it. And then when you go into the meal, I want you to make the best choice that you can, because I think they're going to a restaurant and kind of got to pick some stuff. I want you to make the best choice that you can where you're going to enjoy yourself, but also you're thinking, okay, what's going to help to satiate me and satisfy me? And then we move on. And after that whole night, she had a great time. She's like, yeah, I picked 2 and 1 actually ended up not being that great. So I took a bite, I put it down, I enjoyed this other appetizer. And then for dinner, I kind of looked at my options. I thought about, okay, what's going to help to make me feel satisfied, but what also something that looks really, really good because it is a special event with my work. And she picked something. She had a wonderful time. So it's like, how do we utilize these opportunities? And this is a great example of something that she utilized in the future, right? Recognizing that the best version of her is always going to focus on meals, right? That's going to bring the satisfaction, the fullness, protein, all of that. But she's also a human. And I want her to enjoy, picking finger food appetizers. Like, it's not realistic to say, hey, never do this again, but also understanding, hey, let's not fill up on appetizers because it's going to take a lot of appetizers to get filled up and then there's no space for dinner. Let's find a balance between those 2. And we're using your habits to build, she's already built her future self, but continue to build on your future self of how you would approach food when not tracking. So that was kind of a long story there, but I hope that's encouraging. These habits that I'm trying to encourage you to build over this time are to help you and to assist you and not to cause you burnout and make you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a failure of a human because I have 2 kids under 2 and I can't sleep for 7-8 hours a night and I can't get, 10K steps a day and I can't do this. Like we're not sitting in this I can't mentality. It's like, what do I have the availability to do? This is a boundary. Okay, there's a boundary up here, but can I go over it? Can I go under it? Can I go around it? Can I go to the side of it, right? Some people, they can jump straight over a boundary. They have that flexibility to do that. But for some of us, hey, we kind of got to dig a hole and climb under the boundary. And hey, it might have taken a little bit longer because we had to shovel out all the dirt, but we got there and we were building this routine. So whatever you decide to do, do not create holiday burnout for yourself. And then I want to leave you with this. When you combine intentionality with flexibility, you can create a great opportunity for growth. I think a lot of times we believe we have to have this rigidityness, this I think rigidityness is the word. I'm pretty sure that's what I'm trying to say, but we have to have this crazy grip on things. And it's like, if we're not going 100%, then it's not worth doing. And it's just like, that couldn't be farther from the truth. There's a lot of ways to go at your goals 100% in different ways. And that 100% looks different for everyone. For some of you guys, giving it 100% is be like, look, I've really, really struggled with stopping to eat when I get satisfied, when I'm no longer hungry. That has got to be my focal point right now. And by you giving it all and, taking notes after you go to social situation and thinking about your hunger cues and thinking about how you feel in between plates and in between bites and drinking water, that's going 100% towards that goal. It does not have to be this long list of 7 items for you to be giving it 100%. So do something intentionally, but give yourself that flexibility, understanding what life is right now with the holidays, and you're going to see some great growth right now. All right, guys, that is the end of today's episode. I hope you all enjoy it. As always, if you want to screenshot and share this podcast episode to your stories, tag me so that way I can reshare it. Is a free way to support the show. If you have not left a review on Spotify, is it Spotify? No, not Spotify, a review on Apple. If you listen on Apple, that'd be highly appreciated. On Spotify, you can leave a comment. So if you enjoyed this episode, leave a comment on Spotify, 5 stars if you're feeling generous. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful holiday season. And I will talk to you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Damn Strong Podcast. Show me some love by leaving a review and sharing a screenshot of this episode on your Instagram stories. Until next time, stay strong.